The NFC North will be a very tough division in football this year, with the Lions, the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings all going head to head to earn that number one spot. In my opinion, this is the number one division in football again this year, and I thought a fun video idea would be ranking the division to see who I think will end up on top. I'm your host, Aiden Gister, and welcome to ATG NFL Breakdown. The first team I have in my division rankings is the Minnesota Vikings. Why do I think the Minnesota Vikings are in last place in the division this year? There's a few reasons. My first reason is that JJ McCarthy is a relative unknown. JJ McCarthy has never had an NFL start in his career. And while, yes, he has looked decent in the NFL preseason, I don't believe we can rank a rookie quarterback, or what's essentially a rookie quarterback since he was out due to injury last year, as a contender for the NFC North. I just don't think it's possible. I think JJ McCarthy will be a good quarterback this year and will be a top 20 quarterback. However, I don't think he has what it takes to go against the other contenders in this division. Now, another reason why I have the Vikings in the fourth spot are the suspensions and injuries that the Vikings have. Just this preseason alone, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Naylor, and Christian Darrisaw have all had injuries that have left them out of training camp in the preseason. While yes, Darrisaw's injury happened last year, it was a gruesome injury, and it'll be crazy to see if he'll come back to his previous potential. Justin Jefferson, while he's slotted to play week one, he still had an injury. That's still going to slow him down. He hasn't been in training camp for a long time. And even though he is a superstar, not practicing with the rest of the team is bound to hurt you. Jalen Naylor is their wide receiver three this game, especially because Jordan Addison is out due to a suspension for his DUI. And I think that these two injuries to the wideouts, on top of this being JJ McCarthy's first start in the NFL, will make it extremely hard for them to get anything going on offense. Another thing, a new offensive line. Just this year, the Vikings have signed Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, and drafted Donovan Jackson in the first round. While yes, these players are very good and very talented, it's going to take time for these players to mesh. Starting a new offensive line from not scratch, but essentially from a new spot on the whole interior is going to be very difficult to become adjusted to. I believe that they will be a good unit, but it will take time. And since this is the beginning of the season and JJ McCarthy's just starting out, they'll start slow and not be able to catch back up, at least in my opinion. Now, the Vikings have a really tough schedule. The Vikings play the NFC East, including the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Eagles, and the Giants. They also play the AFC North, the Browns, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bengals. They also play the Falcons, the Chargers, and the Seahawks as their three other games, on top of playing the NFC North. I just think the schedule, especially for a rookie quarterback, is insane. They only have a couple of games that are really easy to win, such as the Browns. I think the Browns is obviously a winnable game. The Steelers shouldn't be that difficult. The Cowboys shouldn't be that difficult. But the rest of the schedule is a coin toss, in my opinion. I feel like any one of these teams could beat the Vikings on any given day, especially with JJ McCarthy, again, being a rookie quarterback and all the injuries that they suffered last year, on top of the new offensive line. And finally, it's the NFC North. It's an insanely hard division that includes the Lions, the Packers, and the Bears, who, besides the Lions, I think will all be better this year. I think the Bears, with their new offensive line additions, with Ben Johnson coming in, and Caleb Williams hopefully having a second year quarterback stride, I think they will be better than 5 and 12 for sure, and give the Vikings a run for their money. The Packers just signed Micah Parsons, just got Matthew Golden. I think they will be strides better. And assuming Jordan Love plays even better than last year, or even the same, they're going to be a better team. And while the Lions have lost their coordinators and Frank Ragnow, they still have most of their core in place. So I still think this is the number one division in football, in my opinion. The third spot is going to the Bears. I have the Bears over the Vikings, which may be a bit controversial, but I have a couple reasons why I think this to be true. Number one, I am fully expecting Caleb Williams to have a breakout year. Now, mind you, before I get into this point, I am a Bears fan, but I am trying to be realistic here. Caleb Williams just got Ben Johnson as his head coach. He got a new revamped offensive line. And also, he didn't really have a horrible year last year like everyone says he did. He still put up 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, and only had 6 picks. I'd say that's a pretty good rookie year, and I fully expect Caleb Williams to elevate in his sophomore year. Again, Ben Johnson is now the coach. I view Ben Johnson as one of the smartest offensive minds in the NFL. That doesn't mean he's going to be a great NFL coach. That doesn't mean he's going to be a great coach right away. But one thing that we do know about Ben Johnson is he's good at scheming guys open, he's good at helping the quarterback, and he will elevate this team, especially compared to Matt Eberflus. That was a clusterfuck last year, and Ben Johnson, I fully expect, will be miles ahead of where Matt Eberflus had this team last year. The rebuilt offensive line. The Bears signed a bunch of new offensive line members, such as Joe Tooney, Drew Dahlman, and Jonah Jackson. Joe Tooney being a multiple time Super Bowl winner, Pro Bowler. He has so many accolades that I could get into. He's a really good damn player. Jonah Jackson, he was injured last year. He kind of switched between spots. He had a down year last year. I expect him to bounce back from that. And Drew Dahlman he's not like the best center in the league, but he's a top 15, top 10 center in my opinion, and will be leaps ahead of the Bears center last year, Coleman Shelton. Now, the lack of a pass rush is a concern. The Bears have Montez Sweat and Dio Dingbo most likely being the starters on the edge, and have Grady Jarrett, Shamar Turner on the inside. However, past that, first of all, Dio Dingbo isn't the greatest player in my opinion to begin with. And on top of that, while Austin Booker has shown some good things, Austin Booker is still a sophomore. Last year, he showed almost nothing, and he's injured for the first 4 weeks of the season. The pass rush is a concern. And behind them, it's Dominique Robinson, Daniel Hardy, just not good players, in my opinion. While they looked fine in the preseason, this is definitely a huge concern for the Chicago Bears and why I can't have them ranked any higher than 3. Another thing with the Chicago Bears is the lack of the run game. DeAndre Swift is a decent player. He's not good. Well, he's good, but he's not great. He's not bad. He's just like a decent starting running back. Behind him, it's Kyle Monangai, who's been banged up recently, who's a 7th-round rookie. Roshan Johnson, who's God knows where he is. He's been gone for multiple weeks now. And Travis Homer, who's on IR. That running back room is very underwhelming. And however they have improved the offensive line, I still don't think it's going to elevate the run game all that much, and it is a cause for concern. Now, the team I have in the second spot, and this one might be controversial as well. I have the Detroit Lions in the second spot, and here's why. First of all, the Lions are really good. They went 15-2 last year. That's insanely hard to do. That coaching staff, the players, the talent, the offensive line, the defense holding up through all the injuries, and they still went 15-2. I feel like that's a great record, and I feel like they're not going to get too much worse from that record. I see their floor as being 11-6, 12-5. Um, and they still have their key offensive playmakers. They still have Jared Goff. They still have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They still have Jahmyr Gibbs, Monty. They have some good ass players. And the majority of their offensive line is still intact. However, there's another part of the puzzle that I find the Lions are going to struggle with this year. And it is the loss of their coordinators, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Ben Johnson is one hell of an offensive coach. And I know I'm a Bears fan, but bias aside, he's a really good offensive mind and helps elevate this offense. And I agree that Aaron Glenn did the same for the defense as well. He took basically third stringers and made them a suitable defense for the majority of the year due to all the injuries the Lions had last year. That's very impressive. And the lack of those coordinators, we have some relative unknowns now. John Morton on the offensive side and Kelvin Shepard on the defensive side. I just don't see them performing to the same ability that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn did last year. They're new. It's going to take them time. And even if they do happen to be that good, it's going to take them time to mesh with the offense. I'm going to see some regression because of that. And like I was mentioning earlier, the offensive line, while yes, most of it was still intact, they lost their best player on the offensive line in Frank Ragnow, their center. That's a horrible loss for the Lions. Um, it's good that he retired. Good luck to him in his future endeavors, but that really hurts the Lions. And their new center is a little bit underwhelming. I don't think he's going to be bad, and his name's Graham Glasgow, by the way. I don't think he's going to be bad. He's been in the league for many years now. He's a veteran. He's been on the Lions for the last couple of years, has helped them on the O line. I don't think he's going to be bad by any means. However, I don't think he's going to match where Frank Ragnow has been. Frank Ragnow is probably going to the Hall of Fame, and they lost a Hall of Fame center for this dude, and I just see regression because of that. And it's nothing that the Lions did. He retired, but I just don't see that unit being as strong as it was last year. However, it is a new year, and the Lions are fully healthy. One player that comes to mind being back is Aiden Hutchinson. He was on pace to having 17, 18 sacks last year. He would have probably been the defensive player of the year if he stayed healthy. I believe he had 7.5 before he went down in week 6. That's crazy. That's more than one sack a game. That's really telling. Um, and he went down, and that defense just started getting more and more injuries, and it was just a mess. And while Aaron Glenn held it together, having those players back is significantly going to help the Lions. Their offense should be mostly the same, besides the loss of Frank Ragnow. And I feel like their defense is going to be a hell of a lot better than it was last year, just due to the healthy players being back, and that'll keep them in a lot more of those closer games. It'll make it less close because that offense is just so damn good. So that's why I have the Lions at 2. And as our number 1, I hate to say it as a Bears fan, but it's going to have to be the Green Bay Packers. And here's why. First of all, they traded for Micah Parsons, who, in my opinion, is the third best rusher in this league. Micah has had between 12 and 14 sacks consistently over the last few years. And even last year with his injury, he still made really good turnout with his play. And I think the Packers trading for Micah Parsons, giving him that $47 million a year contract, has elevated them from the second spot to the first spot. And it's unfortunate as a Bears fan because Micah Parsons is going to fucking destroy Braxton Jones. Um, but I see this trade elevating the Packers into borderline Super Bowl contention. I think they're the tier below the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, that squad. I think they're a tier 2 team who will win a couple of playoff games, if not contend for a title. Just because of this trade. That's how fucking good this player is. Another thing that helps the Packers out significantly is they finally have their wide receiver one in Matt Golden. They drafted him in the first round of the draft this year. He's going to be their wide receiver 1 alongside Romeo Doubs, and Jaden Reed. And I think that's a formidable wide receiver core. It is definitely improved from last year. And I think that'll help Jordan Love elevate a little bit more this year. That'll help that offense get something going more in different games. And I think it'll just make them a whole lot better on that side of the ball. They also have stability from last year. Jordan Love. They still have Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft, Josh Jacobs. They have a lot of stability. And while they did lose Jair Alexander, overall, their whole team, especially their offense, is stable. And in my opinion, a stable offense is more important than a stable defense. And they will build on their successes from last year and become a really good unit, in my opinion, which is unfortunate. I know I keep saying it, but I hate the fucking Packers. But I think they will be a really good team this year, offensively and defensively. And they also have a great coaching staff. Matt LaFleur has been there for 8+ years now. He's held down the fort. He's gotten the most out of Aaron Rodgers. He's gotten the most out of Jordan Love, especially that first year. Last year was a bit of the down year for Jordan Love, but I predict for him to bounce back a little bit. And also, they have their defensive coordinator, which his name slips my mind, but he made the Packers defense a hell of a lot better last year. And I assume, especially with Micah Parsons, that defense will only continue to trend upwards. So I feel like this team is going in a complete upwards direction while the Lions are regressing. And that's why I have them overtaking the Lions. And finally, they have the easiest strength of schedule in the NFC North. They play the Cardinals, they play the Panthers, and they play the Broncos. Compared to the other teams in this division, those three games are a hell of a lot easier, in my opinion. I believe that the Broncos are less talented than some people are putting them out to be. I think the Chargers are ahead of them. I'm not as much of a Bo Nix believer as the rest of the league. I think he's just in a good system. Their defense is really good, though. So as long as the Packers offense can overrun that defense, I feel like that'll be a win, especially because I think that offense has gotten significantly better. But we can't undermine the Broncos defense. I think the Cardinals will be a pretty easy win. I think the Packers are significantly better than them. And the Packers are significantly better than the Panthers. That goes without saying. And I just think it's going to be an easier schedule. And even though it's only like one or two games easier, since the division plays um, mostly the same games, I think those couple games will help elevate them past Detroit and winning the division. All right, you guys. I hope you enjoyed my predictions. I know some of them are a little bit out there, especially the Packers winning the division. That might stir some people. But this is just how I see it playing out this year. I could be totally wrong. I probably will be totally wrong. But I just wanted to put my input since this division is so damn good. And I'm so excited to see them play. And good news, we have football tomorrow, baby. The Cowboys are taking on the Eagles. Gonna have it playing in my dorm room right here. I'm so hyped. I'm so hyped. Football is back, baby. So yeah, a lot more content's coming soon. I hope you guys enjoyed the first podcast of mine. Just testing out something new. This has been a lot of fun. So I hope you guys subscribe and keep tuning in. But you guys have a nice day. Peace out.